Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Program Director for Communication, Media, and Ethics at Mid-America Christian University, and I'm here to provide a little bit of digital commentary. That's right, the asynchronous lecture is back, where I am responding to your student-written weekly discussion questions from the readings. That's weekly discussion questions, not interview questions, which is something the students in our Creating Social Media Presence in Cultural Movements class is emphasizing. So we have lots of questions going on in this course. And if it seems like overkill, that's okay, because let's remember, it's an accelerated class. We're trying to cover a ton of ground in a short amount of time, and there are some courses that are leaner on the expectations, and some courses where we're really going to push you. Hence the 4,000, right? In the 4,000 level courses. Although many of you know by now that we just as easily have some 2,000, 3,000 level courses that would challenge us tremendously. But I know now you all are aware. We will have an adjustment to our schedule in week 3 and 4. Okay, so the middle of week 3 through week 4 will be sort of accelerated on your schedule, on your timeline. And we've mentioned and posted about that already. I want to let you know I'm gearing up myself, getting prepared, taking all the preparations. I do want to preface and say, I want to pause and say, we did look at I requested we try to move this course, but the important thing to remember is all of you are on different course cycles. And so when we looked at moving a course this full, it was very tricky. Too many people needed it right where it is. And it's a kind of specialty course, all right? And so it's by design that way. It's part of like our service motivation for you all, and I actually am thrilled for sort of breaking the schedule, because it's a happy coincidence again that the number one feedback item from the last time we taught this class was students wanted that opportunity to go do field work, actual interviews themselves. So this is the perfect answer to that call for you all to engage in that activity in week 4. In the meantime, you all are writing and submitting weekly discussion questions. It's a very routine assignment in many of our courses, not all of them, so hold on, but in many of the courses. And just a healthy recap, this assignment does a lot for us. First of all, our university style. We have an academic style that we prefer at MACU, and that we're trying to promote, and promotes the light word. We want students to leave disciplined with it, and it's APA style. And so when we're writing these weekly discussion questions, it's an opportunity to work on your APA style. I mean, it should be secondhand, not something we look up after a while, but we should be able to write citations, in-text citations, references pages really well, right? We should be mastering this by the end of the major. And routine assignments like this help us. Second, once we create a template, let's say week 1, you're reusing the template for better or worse, although sometimes we copy over too much information. But establish a strong cover page, establish the references page, and you're going to do minor tweaks along the way. Well, guess what? In addition to that being proper APA style, let's keep in mind that the cover pages help us as an organizational system. And just like all of our assignments, those cover pages make it easy to track down when it comes time for you all to enter the Media Studies, Public Relations, Social Media Capstone course, where we finally put together and submit that digital media portfolio. I give all these reasons, but really the weekly discussion questions, they help hold us accountable to the readings. I get it. When When requirements are sort of taken away and we get complete free reign, and guess what? We find other things to fill our time. We find other ways to stay busy, get distracted, and so on. But this is a way to stay connected with the readings. It's a way to also make up for that absence, that gap in time when we are on an accelerated schedule. And it also is an asynchronous activity, so you can read at your leisure, depending on your free time. Are you a morning person or are you a night person? Do you like to read on your lunch break, and so on? All right, so we're in this together. This is a relationship, this professional, educational endeavor where we're wanting the best out of you. So we're trying to promote activities that are going to instill qualities. Many of you will move on to professional roles, and there's going to be a lot. If you think the readings, depending on how you feel or assess the readings now, wait till you get into, roles where it's nothing but technical manuals and that sort. All right. So enjoy that process and embrace this process of learning and do the best you can, get what you can there. Anyway, so that's a response to it. And I didn't even say that the educational outcome it most supports critical thinking, asking us to ask questions about, to tackle, to critique even the readings as we encounter them. Just because you're being served up, X number of books or X number of authors along the way in the communication major, that doesn't mean that we're buying into them, their ideas, their premises, hook, line, and sinker. It's your job to help determine that by holding them accountable through your discussion questions. All right, so that's my sort of cheerleader position on that assignment. I know it is sometimes, at times, our least favorite, but it's like the vegetables, right? We consume it. We know it's healthy for us. We know it's helping us train and discipline our minds. And with that said, let's get to some questions. Now, I'm not going to answer every question in one video possible. I'm not going to answer or respond to every question written, and for several reasons. Time is of the essence, but we also have there's a limited schedule, a lot going on, but some of the questions, as always, can stand from closer attention to detail, right? Tailoring, which is why in week 1, I'm always sort of repeating some similar commentary, because strikingly we see it again and again, sometimes. And so the closer, the narrower the focus of our questions are with relation to a reading, the more accurate we are in asking a strong, a sound question. All right, so keep that in mind. But what I wanted to do, I'm just going to choose 1 to 2 questions per student here, run through those. I'm going to sprinkle this lecture material, this asynchronous digital lecture across a couple of days. I'm not sure if it'll be released this week, middle, late of this week, maybe today. We'll see on the rendering schedule, but we're going to get it out to you, okay? And then I'm if time allows, in the limited number of days I'm here in week 3. Before I head out, I'm going to respond to some additional questions. I'm also going to look at week 2 and see what we're up to there. All right, and so sometimes that assignment the feedback can get slightly delayed, but it's because I appreciate taking the time to process these questions and as often as possible formulate some responses. So that was a nearly 9-minute setup to get into some questions. So shut up and read, dude. All right, let's hear from Simone and see what's on her mind in week 1 from the readings. Simone's commenting on Scott Goodson's Uprising. Hope you guys are enjoying this book. It's one that, no pun intended, sparks a lot of conversation with students. I think there's a lot of good ideas, bordering on great ideas in the book. There's definitely some healthy key terms, right? Some jargon that we can really sink our teeth into, and it's good food for thought. Help us conceptualize the professional world a lot better. So in reference to that book, somebody asks, what is your opinion of movements and businesses being involved in movements? What's your opinion of movements and businesses being involved in movements? All right, so response would be, let's take one of our other main texts in the major, spreadable media, right? The motto of spreadable media, if it doesn't spread, it's dead. Okay, so recognizing that model, thinking about it, the spread or die motto, this is advantageous to branding our ideas, to sparking a cultural movement, right? To use that phrase from our authors. But we also want to think about the history of marketing, right? Because the follow-up question is, what do we think about movements and businesses in conversation with one another? The history of marketing is bandwagoning trends, right? An idea sparks a cultural movement, you're going to see it replicated. You're going to see competitors borrowing those ideas, okay? And so that's a natural way in which the market is all about flow, all right? So it flows in directions, and those directions can be steered or guided or maybe manipulated or encouraged by numerous factors, but currently we see the wave of viral media and cultural movements as ways that the tide shifts. All right, what are some movements beneficial for the American culture? And this question gave me pause. I was unsure what we mean when we say beneficial for the American culture. It reads somewhat like it could be a subjective response. So you could have different people with dissenting, opinions on that subject. So why are movements beneficial for the American culture? Maybe if I rephrase that last term, culture, or I say retitle it. If I say economy, yes. Or why are movements beneficial for the economy? Because it moves markets close, right? Markets closer to culture, and we're already seeing culture. We see these cultural shifts, right? Culture moving more and more online, or culture moving into narrowing into focus groups. These we talk about niche interests, that sort of thing. And so the economy must follow these trends and learn to capitalize on them. And so the large think tanks will be seeking talent that can organically or perhaps artificially spark many cultural movements, at least in terms of talking about advertising, brand management. Of course, there are people with great influence and great powerful persuasion that can do it by the nature of their notoriety, or maybe their celebrity status or their immense wealth. Okay, and that's a crossover theme for those of you that have had or upcoming will have our digital persuasion in the social media age, is understanding that these things don't occur in a vacuum sometimes. A couple of quick questions from Liz. Great questions in week one, Liz. In today's society, is it more popular to watch an interview or read one in an article? I would say it depends on the demographic. And those of you that had the advertising class this summer, beginning of summer, know what I'm talking about there. Depends on the demographic. But let me use it as a counter question here. What do you all do more? Do you watch more interviews or do you read more interviews? I think both are persuasive, and I think both can have flaws that are easily dismantle the potential of a good interview. But we know anything with visuals is naturally more engaging. But what if the interviewee is less engaging of a person or less engaging of a speaker? And all of a sudden those qualities fall to the wayside. Whereas what if they're eloquent in private, or what if it's a correspondence interview, let's say email correspondence, something like that, and they've taken the time, they're a good writer, they fashion out some responses, and now so we're reminded of the various mass mediums, and this would be a great opportunity to mention the power of the medium is always something we want to consider. when we're performing interviews. Quick break, and we will come back with some more Q&A. Hang tight.